Hello everyone, welcome back to Behind the Canvas. This is the last episode of the first season, and today I wanted to show you something simple yet interesting if you're working with small formats. If you don't have the space or the means to work with larger canvases, this might be interesting for you. For this painting, I used a canvas that was 24 by 30 centimeters, and usually that's not the type of format that I go for a landscape. I tend to work with 60 times 80 or 80 times 100 or even larger formats if possible. But I had this little canvas that I had used for another video in which I show how to break down subjects onto little or smaller, simpler figures so you can put them on the canvas properly. And I really didn't know what to do with this because I didn't feel like I needed to paint the original subject anymore, or at least I didn't feel inspired to do that. And a couple of days ago, I was looking through a couple of pictures or sorting out old pictures that I have on my computer, and I got an idea for this little canvas. A long time ago, like 12 years ago, I did a trip to visit someone in New York, and this trip was honestly one of the most significant trips I've ever done for multiple reasons. Not only because I visited this person, but also because it was the first time that I was traveling by myself abroad. And during this trip, I took a ton of pictures um, of everything. I'm a person that likes taking pictures without a reason. But during this trip, obviously, being in a location that I had always wanted to go to and travel and being on my own, I don't know, I just took way too many, and I don't always have the time to, or I rarely have the time to go through all of those pictures and organize them and make a selection of them and sometimes edit them and whatever. But a couple of days ago, I actually had the time for that, and I started looking at this trip in particular. And after looking at a lot of the pictures that I took, I came across this really, really wonderful view of the Empire State Building, and I felt like I needed to paint that immediately. I know that the subject itself is a bit overdone, it's a bit cliche, I don't know, like just painting the Empire State Building is something that we've seen in pictures a lot, but to me, it was not about that. I wasn't actively trying to look for a subject that would feel new or interesting, or that was not the angle. For me, it was just about I looked at the picture and I got transported to that moment in time. And as I was painting it, I really felt the same excitement that I felt back then. The excitement of being a city that I had wanted to visit for a long time on my own. Um, I had just visited this person, and I also wanted to explore the city, and I wanted to do everything in like a week or something. And I remember that specific day, I really wanted a picture of the skyline. I wanted the iconic Empire State Building shot, and I went up I think it's called the Rockefeller Center, and they have this top of the rock location, I think, all the way up. And from there, you have you have the view. You have the view. And I just remember how excited I was during that trip while looking at that. And when I saw this picture that I took, I immediately felt like, okay, this will fit into the small canvas. Now, usually, like I mentioned before, I would have loved to have a larger canvas because it allows me for a lot more um, exploration with how much colors I can use and the shapes and everything, but I didn't have that. And I think this is a good opportunity to mention how you can also approach a subject like this on a small canvas. So, with all the excitement of revisiting this memory, the painting happened very effortlessly, I would say. I went for the usual steps. I sketched in the subject onto the canvas to see if it fits. Then I blocked in the main colors, which was Prussian blue for the sky and red and yellow for the city. To me, it was really important that I would convey this excitement that I was feeling back then. And I went for reds and yellows because those are very strong colors. And originally, the photograph is a lot colder. It's more blues, more greens, more whites, and that wasn't really doing it for me. So I changed that, and I think if you're trying to convey something and that's your priority, then absolutely go for that, and don't be afraid of changing something that makes it look different from the reference. That's never a problem. And I think it just highlights how important it is for you to understand what you're trying to paint and why you want to paint it in a certain way. Something else that occurred to me while I was painting this is that, I mean, it's a bit cliche as well, but when you're remembering something, or at least when I'm remembering something, I'm able to focus on something, and that element has a ton of detail in my memory, and the rest of the elements that surround that become very blurry. And I mean, you've more or less seen that represented in movies or some photographs, and but it actually works really well for painting a landscape like this on a small canvas. You're able to hint at the rest of the things, and that helps in with conveying the fact that you're remembering something or painting a memory. So I gave a little bit more detail to the Empire State. I started painting the windows with a brush that was very small and thin, and it didn't work that well because I hadn't had breakfast, and I think I had just had a coffee or something, and my hands were shaking a little bit. But it's okay. I just wanted to mention that because I think that it works really well, not overwhelming the whoever looks at the painting with a ton of information that doesn't really fit or that is not really relevant to the point of the painting. The last part of the painting where I added more detail was the top of the building. And I was working with this picture as a reference, and back then I didn't understand that if you don't pay attention to your exposure, then some of the highlights can burn into the picture. And what that basically means is that when you want to zoom in and look at the details, you won't be able to do that because it's just a white area. But I was aware of that at the beginning of the painting, so I intentionally left this area of the canvas completely white without any painting or without any color. So I could then, at the end, add this little highlights and little details hinting at the windows and the lights. And I think it works okay. I could have done a better job, I think. And I keep struggling with with realism and not being able to get away from it, transition into something more abstract. Um, but having said this, I really invite you to approach painting through this perspective. It's a wonderful, wonderful way to revisit memories and moments that are important to you. And if you want next time that you're remembering something, try painting it or drawing it and see how you feel after that. So thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you could learn something from it. And if you like this type of content, remember to subscribe to the channel, give a like to the video, comment, because that would help me a ton. And I'm gonna start working on the second season of Behind the Canvas, hopefully bring in a bit more structure because I feel like the first one was a bit all over the place, but I guess that's part of the whole YouTube creative process or something. Anyway, thanks again for watching, and I'll see you next time.